Right, Gavin says, why do you act insane so much, man? It's definitely insane to smoke a cigarette. But Gavin, we live in a insane world, don't we? If this isn't an insane world, then what is it? You know, to be blunt about it. Not having a discussion, I'm just answering your question. Please be quiet while I answer your question, right? Shut the fuck up and listen if you ask a question, Gavin. People are working for weeks and months to make less than $100. Good people that are just trying to take care of their families. And we throw $100 around on fucking coffee and blueberries. So this is an insane world. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, you're okay, Gavin. This is a motherfucking crazy, insane world. And yeah, I'm trying to work that out in myself when it comes to money, when it comes to colonialism. I know it's a fucking crazy word. But this is not a sane world. If this world is an operating system, it's not operating on a sane code or principles. It's a broken system. And I'm not saying that to wax poetic, I'm saying that's the way that the world is. This world is a fucking broken system. And if you're living in America or the West, even if you hear about these, even if you see about these things in India or Indonesia or whatever, it's not real to you. Because your life is based in this privilege, in this bubble of your experience. This idea that we can see outside of our direct experience, whether that's in a practical or a relative way, in terms of time or places we've been, experiences we've had, or like the directness of our experience now, is just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous premise. So this money is a form of enslavement. The money is a weapon that's pointed to all of our heads. And when you're living in the West, you know, it's pointed to your head with hot water and with car loans and with, you know, the amount of credit that people can take out, the amount of loans that people can take out is absolutely unbelievable. How can somebody get into $100,000 of debt? $100,000, you can live your entire life on that in a good way, not to speak of benefiting other people. So I act crazy because this is a crazy world. I act insane because this is an insane world. Now, am I totally free from suffering? Is my identity completely liberated? Is my experience completely stable? Probably more so than most people. So, to sound stupid, this is a revolutionary movement, and I'm kind of a shitty revolutionary, but I follow and I take refuge in teachers that are exemplary revolutionaries, and the stage is set and the resources are there. It's just a matter of more people creating community, becoming activated, getting to know one another, getting to trust one another. And you know, our values of individualism are not just going to be shifted overnight. So I'm not going to stop wanting to be an individual, have my own space, have my own kind of privacy and things like that. And I don't need to. We just need to form relationships with each other that are based in a bigger view and a bigger vision than just benefiting ourselves. All right, Gavin, we're going to time you out for a little bit, buddy. You need to shut up and listen. Well, let's say, for example, that there were 100 people here right now in this live stream, or 100 people total who will, you know, receive this message, be a part of this experience. I can, through my connections, provide housing, healthcare, food, and general resources for all those 100 people for the rest of their lives. Through my connections, through my teacher. So that's actually not a big deal, quite easy to do. You can go on timeout too, Winter. Acting like a fool. So in a certain sense, we're not, you know, here I smoke a cigarette, another cigarette, celebrate the event, celebrate the occasion, give you something to relate to. In a certain sense, it's not just that we're destroying our own life, because that wouldn't be such a problem. We're destroying the fucking world through our greed, through our selfishness, through our hyper-individualism, for our inability to communicate, for our inability to be contemplative and creative. We're destroying the entire planet. So Machamp, thank you so much for your $50 donation. If you would like to make $50 donation a month, that's really, really helpful. And you can sign up through a PayPal link that I can send you on WhatsApp, and it will come out monthly. YouTube takes about 30%. But don't worry about that now, 100% received. We're all looking for a perfect situation, an ideal environment, an ideal relationship, an ideal experience. We want things to be the way that we want them to be, and that's why we've destroyed the fucking planet. And that's never going to work. So this is a really basic teaching on stopping and seeing. If you're going to be here, try to be respectful. who we really are, who we truly are, is not some kind of idea of ourselves or the idea that we have of the relationship that we have with others. It's how we are right here and right now in this moment. It's how we show kindness instead of negativity. It's how we show openness instead of closedness. It's how we're willing to feel what's actually happening instead of waiting for the feeling that we want to be there to come about. This is your life. And matter of fact, this is our life. This is not your world or my world, or your life or my life. This is our world. This is our life. So we can really be deeply concerned with helping each other and supporting each other in a way that has nothing to do with just our personal desires, and instead our willingness to give and our willingness to let go. You know, I can feel the anxiety in my body. So many people watching. Caffeine, nicotine, overstimulation, cars going by, music playing in the background. And just how evil people are. But that evil isn't based on people being evil. It's based on ignorance. It's a lack of remembering who we truly are, which is this awareness in the here and now. And it's okay, we get into the Buddhism or we get into the spirituality. It comes from Asia, it comes from India, it comes from Tibet. That's not our culture, that's not our background. And we say, well, it's basically our background because we're all human, but it's not. We come from hundreds of years of colonialism, of genocide, of capitalism, of royalty. And people in Asia do not come from that. That's not their heritage. That's not their cultural background. And so if we're talking about a new world spirituality or progressive spirituality, as much as we need to be willing to make use of these old cultures and these old traditions that have a lot of technology and science that's useful, we also need to know how to abandon that and see through that surface level appearance of wearing the robes and the Rinpoches and the Sayadaws and all these different structures that actually don't relate to us, don't relate to how we see the world, and don't relate to how our internal frameworks work. So there's a really deep conversation that needs to take place. There's a really deep giving that needs to take place. And actually, it's not about our trauma. It's not about our story. It's about our willingness to share what we have now that's most valuable to us. Our money, our time, our attention, our whiteness, our bodies and minds. Plans for the Monk Life Meditation Institute are in full effect. So there should be quite some development over the next week and 2 weeks for our work and our teachings, our community structure. So I'm doing my best to invest in that and make the space and the time for a stronger sense of grounding and continuous communal connection and concern with the Dhamma. But, you know, I want people to understand that the resources that are already on the table are unbelievable. To live the rest of your life as a monk or a nun or a yogi or living in spiritual community or going to live at a meditation center, just like that, are already there. Even for people who are mentally ill or drug addict or what have you. We have meditation centers all over the world in this Tabarwa organization. You know, Monk Life. The Monk Life meditation community is under the umbrella of Tabarwa, founded by Sayadaw Otamatara. So we already have resources that really are unbelievable. And I don't mean that in some kind of positive ways, like, wow, these resources are so great. No, it's literally impossible for you to believe the resources that are on the table for you now. Sorry, I need to step back. I need to calm down a little bit. And how is this all possible for me to be in this position of a teacher and to focus on doing this work and live streaming and teaching? It's because we have a community of donors and practitioners that are making this all possible. Now, I do want to put in a disclaimer here. If we give to the Guru, if we give to the Dharma teacher, if we give to the Rinpoche or to our spiritual friend, we are not helping the spiritual teacher by doing that. We don't do that to help the spiritual teacher. The spiritual teacher helps us by being willing to receive what's offered. Any spiritual teacher worth their salt should have a life of abundancy. They should be strong, healthy, and wealthy to take care of themselves. They shouldn't, for sure, need anybody else to take care of them. The spiritual teacher should be the person who has the most capacity to take care of themselves and to live a life of abundancy. So, like working to support your spiritual teacher, you can't stay in that space. That's not a correct mindset for why we give, why we donate, why we support. Just in case. All right, a question from Blue Octopus. Can you elaborate on how Rinpoches or like Ajahns, teachers in the spiritual community, gurus or Rinpoches or Sayadaws, don't relate to us? Basically, we don't have this kind of culture of spiritual masters. We don't have that kind of community infrastructure. So what they symbolize is something very powerful, very good, very real in a spiritual community, in a Buddhist community, in a Hindu community, in a Tibetan Buddhist community. But that's not something that we naturally relate to, coming from a Western culture or a Western background. We don't have the karmic affinity, karmic background, psychological background for being in a proper relationship with a monk or with a spiritual teacher, a spiritual master. So what oftentimes happens is that people fall into this very vague, superfluous guru worship or teacher worship that's not coming from an integrated place inside of themselves. Asian people love their gurus and their masters and their teachers from a place of humanness, because it's already a part of their culture, their social infrastructure. And when Westerners then try to then apply that or even appropriate that, it's done in a very shallow way, where this humanness is replaced with a guru-ness. And it doesn't really make any sense, because the gurus are worshipped and beloved because they're the most human. So we need to come back to humanness before we can start to say, okay, this is a teacher, this is a guru. And anyways, most people, I oftentimes say this to people, most people will need a living teacher. And then even more than that, most people will need a living teacher that they can connect with, that they can talk to, that can talk to them on a human level. Not everybody, and we can get a lot of help anyway. Just like most people, to make a big change or to have a deep energetic shift in their mindset, in their heart, in their practice, in their view, will have to be in person with a teacher or in person with a community, rather than just watching or following online. So what I'm doing here is actually a very a unique kind of practice, a unique form of practice. Not something that most people could do, most monks could do, or most spiritual practitioners could do, even if they wanted to, even if they had some idea that it was valuable, because they haven't received a transmission of this kind of practice, this way of practice. So this is something I received from my teacher, Sayadaw Ashin Tamatara, founder of Tabarwa, of doing good deeds with mindfulness and detachment limitlessly. I share and I teach, not to teach other people, but for myself as the best way to learn and the best way to keep myself concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the path of ending suffering, generosity, helping others, being here to help others. Some people say, Dr. Rob, Guru, how can you say you are helping others when you yell at people? If I could, I would yell at the world, because that's what the world needs, is a yell, is a shout, is a sword, is a club, to say enough is enough. We have to restructure the entire way that we're living our lives if we don't want to destroy this planet. We say, oh, well, you know, the planet's going to be fine, it's pretty big. Yeah, but we say that from this position of colonialism. We say that from this ancestry of the people who have already been destroying the planet in all kinds of ways, destroying Indonesia, destroying Vietnam, destroying Thailand, destroying Myanmar, destroying India. But it will be very difficult to receive this message and then to have a conversation or a communication by it, because we are so shallow. Our minds are so shallow. We are so privileged. We are so identified with thought. We are so identified with convenience. We are so identified with consumerism. We are so identified with cognitive dissonance. You know, someone like Sandra Willoughby saying, let's come together and just love each other, that's as worse as saying, let's all stay apart and just hate each other, because it's coming from a shallow place. It's not coming from a practice of surrender. And if you really knew what was good for you, you'd shut up and listen as deeply and as closely as you can. It's like going down to the Indonesian oil fields where people work for 12 hours a day to make $10 a week, and saying, let's just come together and let's just love each other. How about you drink some crude oil? Not that simple, Blue Octopus. And we're so disconnected from community that it's like we're constantly walking into someone's house and asking them what they're doing there. And that's the history of colonialism, isn't it? So it's not just, oh, I don't believe in colonialism, I don't support colonialism, oh, I don't believe in racism, I don't support racism. It's internalized. And what work have you done to actually go deep inside of your own mind to address those internalized racisms, sexisms, childisms? And this is, colonialism is based on tribalism. So internalized tribalism, where we hear about people working in Indonesian oil fields, or we hear about people working in plastic-fueled ovens to create polluted tofu, and we say, well, that's, I guess, whatever. Yeah, because they're not from our tribe. They don't look like us. They don't speak like us. They don't sound like us. And it's the same with colonialism. Colonialism is the practice of the principle of tribalism. And how are you going to be a warrior for the cause? Well, you're going to shut up and listen, and you're going to donate, and you're going to practice seriously. And the only way that you're going to be really someone who's activated and ready to help and support and have a seat at the table is through your willingness to sacrifice your life, to sacrifice your body and mind, because that's 100% what any kind of meaningful movement takes. And we will teach meditation and Dharma and other forms of, practice as well. So you can stay tuned for that. That's it's, I think, one of the places where I really leave myself vulnerable, exposed, is that this isn't just about myself or you becoming enlightened. This is about creating a new world order of doing good deeds with mindfulness and detachment limitlessly. And all of our baggage and all of our relationships and all of our needs and roles and responsibilities, we can bring that into it. It's not about we need to reject these part of ourselves, but it's our willingness to sacrifice. And then we may have some of us that take that to a very, very high extent, so they get a little bit of a higher seat at the table. Simple as that. But people just wandering in and saying, well, I'm here, so I think my voice has a relevance. No, it does not. You don't have a seat at the table just because you happen to be here. And in the same way, someone who's new, but who's sacrificed their body and mind in their life, has a higher seat at the table than even me, if they've gone to that extent, if they've gone to that degree. If they have shared visions and experience with principles and practices. Winter Star, do you have WhatsApp? Can you send me a message on WhatsApp and I'll send you a link? And I just want people to be aware, this is a long-term practice, a long-term direction, and disaster strikes as quickly as lightning becomes thunder. So don't get into any big ideas. This isn't about what we buy. In the midst of this, we will buy this thing or that thing, hopefully to use not just for ourselves, but for the others as well. But, this is something that's going to take our continuous concern with, our continuous investment in. I'll put the WhatsApp number in the channel. And thank you. And if you're going to make a donation, I recommend donating more than you're comfortable with. impersonally. It's a little bit funny, but it's true. That is my recommendation, and I would say that if I had nothing to benefit from it. It's kind of what it takes, actually. Good. And we'll buy your food for you, Winter, anyway. We'll send your donation back and forth until PayPal takes all the fees to express our generosity and self-sacrifice. And this is another aspect of why I can seem to be kind of why I can kind of seem to be a little bit like, yes, good, I don't understand, leave it at that. A little bit tough and rough with Westerners because, you know, living as a monk for all these years, I've seen how generous people are who have almost nothing. People who live in bamboo huts. People who can't even afford to send their children to school, and their willingness to give and to offer and to feed monks every day and things like that is just unbelievable. And Winter Star, what I'm saying is that your concern with this community is you know, not one-sided. As much as you're concerned with this community, we'll try to meet your needs. This is not Kenneth Copeland Ministries, so if you need baby formula, give me a call and let me know. We have a young man. We have a young man as a part of, under the Tabarwa umbrella of my teacher, and he's kind of been flying all over the world on Tabarwa and my teacher's dime and resources, just because he has a lot of need. He has a very strong and very deep need. So to meet that need is important. It's an important part of the practice. To be ready to meet the needs of others is very important. Yeah, it's not too bad, Casey Clip. Not too bad. But the important part of that is the in need. Right? So that kind of statement, that kind of energy can be confused with like giving advice to other people or trying to help other people. You know, it's like when Christian missionaries go over to Africa and they're trying to help the African people. Here's the Bible, eat the Bible, believe in God, believe in God. So, you know, I don't know if the idea is actually to meet a need or to force someone else to believe something that you believe. In terms of making donations or volunteering, think of it in the way of, could I get paid money for this, or do I get paid money for this? So if no one in the world would pay you money for your advice except in your fantasy dream, then your advice are going around and like trying to help people and, you know, trying to find people to buy your advice. That's not going to be a donation. That's not going to be volunteering. It's just going to be you trying to monetize something that doesn't actually have value clearly. apparently, or naturally. So we make a donation with our mind or our body. You go to volunteer at the temple, go and sweep at the local Buddhist temple or meditation center, stuff like that. But actually, Winter Star is 3. So if you can barely afford food or whatever, I have three metrics, right, for people who want to donate or volunteer or whatever. If you're just getting by, give what you can, and you're bound to be generous with that, right? Because you don't have a lot, so anything that you give is an action of generosity. It's like when you wake up in the morning, you're very tired and dehydrated and hungover or whatever. Anything that you do is a big giving. It's a big releasing. It's a big going beyond. So if you don't have much, you're just getting by, just give what you can. If you're middle class, if you're taking care of yourself for sure, no problem with that, then give more than what you think is appropriate. And if you're wealthy, good luck. And another way to say that is go fuck yourself, because wealthy people that are imbued by the burden of greed and accumulation of wealth in this world are the most dangerous and the worst people in this world. And all of the problems and all of the societal and social problems that we can point to in this world all stem from greed, all stem from a lack of generosity, 100%. And it's not about anybody personally being in those positions. It's a principle of giving is not about an amount. The amount is a deception. Because if you had $5,000, let's say you had $5,000 in the US, how are you going to, you'll live on that for a couple weeks, you live on that for a couple months if you're lucky. Here in Thailand or in Myanmar and Indonesia, $5,000 will make somebody's head explode if you gave that to them, if they had that amount. They'd be a wealthy person in their village. Now this might be a village where there's not a gas station for 60 miles. So the number itself doesn't have anything to do with generosity. Generosity is about sacrifice. It's about renunciation. It's about detachment. It's about doing what you can't do. Oh, of course. Of course, Winter Star. But it's better for you. It doesn't have anything to do with me. And take the money that you're thinking of offering to me and break it up into pieces and then just go donate it to a homeless community or take it to the local women's shelter. Give a piece to every homeless person in the area. For religious fruitcakes like me, we consider the Dharma, the Dhamma, to be the highest giving, the greatest giving, the deepest giving. So it's kind of like giving renunciation or sharing renunciation. No, love is not a good donation unless you've trained and cultivated your mind in some sense. So for most people, they're just kind of wallabying about. They're just kind of stumbling about. And for those people, you need to redirect them towards not what their ego is connected to, like I'm giving you my love. That's a disaster. If someone says, but I'm giving you my love, it's like, Dr. Rob, I was thinking about donating or helping you out in some way, but I realized that I'm giving you my love. I don't know what to do with that. Just keep it to yourself. Because there's interpersonal love and then there's true love. The true love of mindfulness and detachment that's not based on thoughts, not based on stories, not based on duality, not based on self and other. So the love that most of us know about is transactional love, interpersonal transactional love. If you act this way, if you look this way, I love you. But this is not the love that has any value in the spiritual world. Just like toxic positivity. Same thing with going to the African people and trying to convert them to Christianity, trying to make someone else feel the way that you feel. May I be free from all suffering. May you be free from all suffering. May all beings everywhere be free from all suffering. No big words here. We're not intelligent people in this community, so keep your big words to yourself, smarty pants. The Western world is just riding on the coattails of colonialism. And it's a true, true shame. It's truly disgusting. And it's still going on. All of this genocide, all of this Holocaust, all of this stealing that's taken place just because white people had guns before brown people did. You know, in so many words. As if the highest technology that human beings can come up with is weaponry. How stupid could you be? The capacity to destroy each other, the capacity to destroy the world. Yeah, but what you're proud of is just your suffering. Because what you're proud of is impermanent. What you're proud of is not reliable. Something you try to hold on to but can't. It's like trying to smoke a cigarette forever. You cannot. So that's where the victims and the abusers, the colonizers and the colonized, both have to let go of their ego about the whole situation to be creative and contemplative. Okay, so spiritual friendship. There's a sutra that the Buddha taught about where someone said, hey, I noticed that spiritual friendship is a very important part of the path. The Buddha said, no, spiritual friendship is the entire path. So that's the principle. The practice is generosity. Spiritual friendship is built on the practice of generosity. Without generosity, you cannot be possibly in relationship with spiritual friends. That is why spiritual people, and I'm not talking about the people you see on TikTok and YouTube that are trying to sell you courses or talking about chakras and, you know, this kind, selling you some kind of imbued objects and things. I'm talking about monks and nuns and cultivated people, serious meditators. The reason that they are very shy or hesitant about dealing with a lot of people and interacting with a lot of people is because spirituality, meditation, renunciation trains you in generosity. It trains you in this release. And when you hold on to this view about someone else, you burden them with that view. You create a mental construct of who they are in your own mind, and you can't let go of that. You can't give that away. And so it's unbearable for someone who lives on generosity, who lives on renunciation of self. Whereas for two somewhat enlightened people, you can just constantly be letting go of the view of the other person. And that might sound ideal, but actually, the whole path is suffering. Suffering is nibbana. Well, may this inspire you to stay quitting, because this shit is not good for you. There's nothing romantic about lung cancer. Well, like I said, Winter Star, you're already impoverished spiritually. Mentally, socially, you're impoverished. In being concerned with the Sangha, the monks and nuns and the great teachers, you're impoverished. So you can't be more impoverished than that. People try to whine about, oh my gosh, I'm broke, I don't have anything left. While they own a house, while they have this job where they get all this money, all these kinds of things. So as much as you make it a part of your ego, you're very dumb. And it's not going to be beneficial to you. So when we practice generosity, we do it as a practice of egolessness, of renouncing the story that we have about ourselves. And I don't know why people are so fucking stupid that they can't hear the words that I say. Renouncing the story that we have about ourselves. Why don't you write it the fuck down? Why don't you put it on your wall? Why don't you write a postcard to yourself? Renouncing the story that is held about ourselves. What the fuck don't you people understand about that? You got something fucking wrong with you? Something wrong with your fucking brain? Renouncing the story that you hold about yourself. Giving up the story that you hold about yourself. Renouncing the story that you hold about someone else. Giving up the story that you hold about someone else. Letting go of the story that you hold about someone else. You fucks. That's good Dharma, eh? And I'm the biggest fuck of all. Don't forget about that. Oh. Privileged, greedy, frustrated, delusional. Again and again in this circle of samsara. Coming into being and going out of being. Born again in this place, born again in that place. May it all simply come to an end as soon as possible. Your ego being activated, your opinion being activated, your position being activated is the opportunity to detach and to stop. Stop thinking, stop perpetuating thought. Renounce the story, let go of the story, give up the story that you're holding about yourself. This is what this is about. So if you don't like that and you're not willing to receive that and listen to that, get the fuck out and go the fuck away. If you like. You're as welcome to be here as welcome as you are to get the fuck out. We're going to see, Elric. And remember, it's always good to make a request to the teacher and to the community with a donation. Dhamma Vipassana, the highest Vipassana. Vipassana means special seeing. Dhamma is all phenomena, mental and physical phenomena. You don't understand it. That's the problem with people's egos, is they think they have a right, or they believe that it's necessary to understand everything. You don't understand. You need to allow yourself to not understand. You need to allow this position of not understanding, to be vulnerable, to be open. The thing is that we're so used to being scammed, we're so used to being advertised to, that we think that what is explicitly not advertising to you, what is specifically not trying to convince you of something, is the biggest advertisement of all. Nobody gives a fuck. Fuck off, Wolfgang. Jesus Christ. Oh, ETY, welcome. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, ETY. Is that the very famous Vipassana center, like in the forests of Thailand, where it's very accessible, many people can go, and they've got monks and a lot of lay people there? And it's got like a big open field kind of area in the forest. This is not about building up an interpersonal relationship. And you are very confused. And you will constantly be confused over and over and over again, based on your understanding. Here you're going to have to detach from your understanding. Forgive what you understood. I might have been there before, I'm not sure. I don't want to convince anybody here of anything. I ordained at Wat Padara Pilom in Chiang Mai in 2018, and I disrobed in 2025. Amitofo. Step back from identifying with the feeling. These feelings, or this sense of feeling, how it feels right now, how the body and mind feels right now, how the environment feels right now. Every time that you notice that, step back and widen out from that. Step back from the identification with that feeling. Relax the face. Usually that feeling will then have like a corresponding tension in the body. Sometimes we'll be in an environment, or we'll be in a situation where that feeling you can't change it. So then you really have to work very hard to change your way of relating to that feeling, of seeing that feeling as being good or bad or whatever. It's just another thing that happened in the story of Rob. But there's no real story to be held on to, and there's certainly no explanation for it. no expectation. Yeah, me too. I'm very grateful. Past lives is just like past moments. Don't seek after them. Learn how to let go of that seeking after the identity based on past moments. As many past moments as you have even more past lives than that. So trying to track down or understand your past lives is like trying to pass down where you were before you were born. Tulku Oregon. Yeah, I think he's great. Let me see, I'll just pick him up here. His book, As It Is. Volume 2. As It Is, Volume 2. When concreteness or inconcreteness does not remain before the intellect, at that moment there is no other mental form, and so there is utter peace without conceptions. We think, we remember, we plan, and the attention thus exerted moves towards an object and sticks to it. This mental movement is called thinking or conceptual mind. We have many different expressions in Tibetan to describe the functioning of this basic attitude of mind, of this extroverted consciousness unaware of its own nature. This ignorant mind grabs hold of objects, forms concepts about them, and gets involved and caught up in the concepts it has created. This is the nature of samsara, and it has been continuing through beginningless lifetimes up to the present moment. All these involvements are merely fabricated creations. They are not the natural state. They are based on the concepts of subject and object, perceiver and perceived. This dualistic nature, together with the disturbing emotions and the karma that is produced through them, are the forces that drive us from one samsaric experience to another. Yet all the while there is still the basic nature, which is not made of anything whatsoever. It is totally unconstructed and empty, and at the same time it is aware. It has the quality of being able to cognize. This indivisible unity of being empty and cognizant is our original ground that is never lost. What we are missing is the recognition that our natural state is the indivisible unity of emptiness and cognizance. We miss that recognition because our mind is always searching somewhere else. We do not acknowledge our actual cognizant presence, and instead are always preoccupied by looking elsewhere, outside of ourselves. And we perpetuate this process continuously. Shantideva said, "Unless you know the secret key point, whatever you will do will miss the mark." The secret key point of mind is that its nature is a self-existing original wakefulness. To identify the key point, we need to receive the pointing out instructions, which tells us and shows us that the nature of your mind is the Buddha mind itself. Right now, we are like the dim-witted person who has lost himself in downtown Kathmandu, who runs around wailing, "I've lost myself, where am I?" The pointing out instruction is just like telling him, "You are you." Through beginningless samsara, sentient beings have never found themselves until somebody says, "You are right here." This is a metaphor for introducing the secret key point of mind. So he's great, and Reed, if you can remind me again sometime, we'll do a session, we'll do a class on Tokyo Urgyen and Dzogchen. But we talk about the direct pointing out instructions, pointing to the original nature, pointing to the true mind, the true self. It's good and it's fine and all, but I say stuff like that all the time, and it just goes over people's heads. So in the modern Tibetan tradition and in the modern world, people's egos are more advanced. One of the number one faculties that one needs to develop to have a meditation experience that actually allows the mind to calm and to open and to be clear is sensual restraint, not being lost in sensual desires, seeking after sensuality and avoiding sensuality. Sensuality can be painful and it can be pleasurable. And so now our culture and our society is primarily built on this advancement of access to sensual non-restraint, sensual consumption. That's the kind of the basis of capitalism. So before any good-minded teacher, before they'd ever try to talk to you about pointing out instructions or Dzogchen, they tell you to do 10,000 prostrations or something along those lines. Or for somebody like Steven Seagal, to donate hundreds of $1,000s before you get recognized as a tulku. So, I don't know much about how the Tibetans do it, but this is kind of how I do it, and this is how I work with it to share with people. But that's something with my brother from another mother, Shiva Kailash, talking about this mountain and that mountain. So the mountain for us here is the Dzogchen teachings. The mountain for us here is Tokyo Urgyen and what he has to say. That's the mountain that we point to here. Even if we can't climb it, even if we can't reach it, even if we can't recognize it, we concern ourselves with those deeper teachings. We concern ourselves with that pilgrimage to recognizing the source of mind, this self-existing original wakefulness. I deny God, but I don't deny pooping. Only God is real. That's okay, John Ulam. I don't care if you're in the woods with nothing. Good for you. How long are you going to be there? An hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? Anybody who has woods around them, go walk in the woods and don't bring anything for a little bit, and then come home and have a cheeseburger. Vegan cheeseburger. Right? So in a certain sense, I'm probably taking the golden flute out of my ass, but in a certain sense, I act crazy and I act in a certain way to create some preliminary practices for people's egos so that if they can't get through that, then they don't have any business being involved with me and my practice and my teachings and the masters that I'm concerned with, very realistically. Doesn't mean I wouldn't be willing to help those people or work with those people, but in terms of what I'm trying to teach or to convey, and then like the practice path that I'm encouraging people to be activated on, if you can't see through me acting like a crazy person, if you're offended, then you should go find another teacher. And honestly, I'm sure that some people, who hear me say, I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years, go fuck yourself, you'll never be as enlightened as I am, you don't have anything to do with spirituality. I'm sure some of them, I hope, try to go and find some real Buddhism. And that'd be a great way to do it. Don't let me spoil the soup. Go and get some real ingredients. I know it's not very good, but good enough for you, for sure. I have a story when I was a Zen Master Poha Sunim, and we were sitting down having tea together, and he was giving me some koan, and he said, okay, test. He wanted to test me, if I can bring it up, if I can express it, if I can show it. And he said, okay, I want you to drink that tea without using your mouth. Because we were having tea together, we were in South Korea, this was South Korean Zen master. And, so I took that, and then I brought the tea up to my nose, and I drank it like that. And he laughed, and then of course he said, no, it's not correct. But he laughed, so for me, that's correct enough for me. I know it's not correct enough for him. But a good memory, pure memory, I'm such a fucking lazy, narcissistic, egoic, suffering, monster that, my teacher, you can see from my students who spend time with me, in Australia, I'm just like a golem. You can ask them, but, when we have relationships with teachers like that, people we can look up to, and then if I'm a golem, what are my students? So I'm sorry, but we should all aspire to really deep transformation. And, we don't just take refuge in ourselves or the teacher we know, but the teacher that our teacher knows, the great patriarchs, the great masters. And it's difficult, it's very difficult and inaccessible to be concerned with this path. It's very, very difficult. So I'm trying to make it more accessible. I'll tell another story. I'll share another story. I'm sure some people here will like this. So it was during the same retreat in South Korea with Zen Master Poha Sunim. And he's a wonderful Zen teacher, very cool, very deep. And from South Korea, South Korean monk. And he has videos on YouTube and stuff from years and years ago. He doesn't do that now. Just helps people meditate. But I was on this retreat and we were on this temple stay. So he had connections with these big temples in South Korea, and in South Korea they have these temple stay programs where people can come and, where people can come and stay at the temple and practice meditation, have tea, meet some of the monks, walk around, hike in nature. So anyway, we're at this very nice big, temple in South Korea, and I got food poisoning from something. And so I was a monk, so I was sleeping in the master's room, and one night I shit myself in the bed. And because I was wearing my robes, and usually under monk's robes you don't wear underwear, so the shit that came out of me, this diarrhea, actually got on like the flat mat, like flat, cotton mat or whatever that I was laying on. And so that happened, and I was so scared and I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to tell my teacher. I didn't want anybody to know. So I took that mat that was covered in shit. I tried to rinse it and wash it a little bit, but it was no good. And then I took that mat and I stuffed it behind like the back of this building that we were staying in, right next to this like AC unit. I stuffed that mat there, and it was there for days and days. And I was so anxious and I was thinking about it so much. And we would be walking around. We do the walking meditation around this little building that we were using for our temple stay, for the retreat. And every time we would walk around, I'd look over there and I'd see that shit-covered mattress, that was stuffed next to the AC unit. And my heart would be beating. I said, oh my God, what if somebody notices it? What if somebody finds it? And then eventually, before we left the retreat, I told the master I was so embarrassed. And he called his nun, who's like an organizer, his nun friend, not his nun, but his friend that's a nun, and bhikkhuni, South Korean bhikkhuni, and they organized to like take it, put it in a bag, and go and get it cleaned or something. It's very scary. Yeah, well, so that's my Ajahn Brahm story. That's how advanced my stories are compared to Ajahn Brahm's. There's nothing good about it, just embarrassment and shame and fear and hiding. And then eventually whimpering to my teacher, to tell him to help me clean it up. Nothing enlightened about it, that's for sure. Okay, we'll finish with a little bit of chanting. Take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, and pay homage to this enlightened mind nature that Siddhartha Gautama attained for himself, of himself, that we all are under the umbrella of to this present day. Okay? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tadiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tadiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tadiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. May I and we and all beings be free from suffering. May I, we and all beings be free from suffering. May I, we and all beings be free from suffering. May the path of not picking and choosing open up here and now. May we give out all of the clinging and fixating, even in meditation, to the openness of originally cognizant wakefulness. May all of our suffering come to an end, and may in some small way, may we benefit others. May it be, may it be, may it truly, truly, truly be. Sadhu. 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 Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you all for being here. Be well, be happy, be peaceful, be free from suffering. See you again soon. Bye-bye. And thank you so much to all the donors, all the supporters, all the practitioners, all the people that take this very seriously, hopefully including myself in that. So much gratitude for making this space what it is, for making this a space of generosity, of virtue, of mindfulness, of a real willingness to be concerned with the ending of suffering and the teachings of the great masters. May all of your wishes come true. May you be completely free from suffering. May you rejoice in your generosity, and may whatever you need find you right here and right now. Thank you, everyone.